No role plays, just real. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader.
We've never really, as a workforce, spent a lot of time on making sure we're developing good leaders.
We'll be able to share stories, experience, mistakes, failures, successes.
This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Are you going trick-or-treating tonight with your kids?
Absolutely. We tend to do the whole family outfit thing. So,
you're those people.
It's going to be a good time.
You're those people.
We're those people, dude. And
Yeah.
we collect a lot of candy. It's all for the kids. When the whole family shows up in outfits, then you get more candy per capita.
Oh,
I've learned that.
definitely. And I'm sure you have to make sure that everything is safe. So that leads to 90% of the candy being confiscated.
Yes, because they shouldn't have that much candy.
No, definitely
as
not.
As adults, we can process it a lot better.
Of course, yes. On this episode, I want to talk about something a little spooky. I want to talk about the ability to track your luggage and how that is a leadership lesson.
Stealing your luggage.
We're going to count lost luggage. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're gonna be a vampire this year. I like it.
Exactly. I read a story about an airline, which will remain nameless, who has started banning tracking devices in luggage and citing FAA regulations saying that you can't check anything in a bag that puts out any type of frequency at all, because they are so tired of being called out publicly on social media on the number of lost bags that they have, that they're trying to combat against this by scaring the public into not tracking their own luggage anymore. And clearly that's the right way forward, right? If you are a leader and you're being called out on something that you're doing incorrectly, the right way to do it is to shut down the dissent and to move forward with the way you've been doing things, right?
Nothing to see here. Make your luggage disappear. Blah. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what an amazing leadership moment, right? We don't know where your luggage is, but you do.
Yes.
And we don't like telling you that it's simply been delayed.
Right.
Or that it will be we anticipate it will be here tomorrow when my device says it's in another country half a world away.
I think this is an important leadership lesson here, because I know leaders who do this repeatedly. And you almost watch them, and you can see politicians do it. You watch them on TV and you think, do they actually believe what they're saying right now? Or like, are they lying, or are they dumb, right? Are they dumb, or are they lying to me? And you have to assume that when a person is at a level of leadership that they've gotten to, maybe this is a wrong assumption, you have to assume there's at least some level of intelligence there, which means the assumption is that they are lying to you, not that they are dumb and that they actually believe what they're saying. And that's never a good thing if you are a leader, or if you are leading a company and you're trying to make sure that you're instilling confidence in your customers and your clients. And so, clearly this is the wrong way. They can't stop people from tracking their own bags. That's never going to happen. They can try to scare them all they want to, but people will still continue to call them out. There's been these things over the course of the last few years, especially when we don't know what's happening. Things are happening that are not within our control. But we as leaders want to appear like we are still in control. And so we make decisions, or we say things from the standpoint of, believe in me, have confidence in me, because I am confident in these decisions. And we're not necessarily confident in the decisions, but we're hoping that we don't get called out, or we're hoping we continue fooling people. What do you think about this? Have you seen these situations happen where people kind of hope that the public stays in the dark and that they get away with it versus just kind of owning it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's embarrassing. We talk a lot about it in the show, and like mistakes that we've made and things like that. And again, and I'm not like ignorant to the fact that it's much easier to say like, wow, admit your flaws, admit your mistakes, own them, apologize. That all sounds absolutely right.
Right.
But it's not easy to do sometimes, right?
No.
Especially when you are maybe new to leadership and role, where you're just like, you're looking to want to prove yourself. You're trying to establish your leadership brand. And maybe you didn't get off on the right foot. And then it just feels like things are just piling up on you. And like, I can totally, I see that sometimes with leaders. I think over time, Yeah, like just take the airline thing. Could you imagine if I was like, hey Chris, I saw you made this mistake. I just want to call you out on it. You said you were going to do this, and then you didn't do that, or you said that this was the way that things were going to work, and then they didn't work out that way, and then you're just like, hey, new rule. No more negative specific feedback, right? We're not going to do that anymore. Like
the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Exactly. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is crazy. But I do think it's something that leaders really have to be conscious about, and you have to think about not only how can I learn, and we've talked about this a lot in the show. Not only how can I learn from this mistake, not only how can I own this mistake, how can I leverage this mistake to make others that are with me to understand that I'm willing to admit mistakes, that I want to learn, I want to be better, I want to take this lesson and not just learn it quietly, but I want to broadcast this a little bit and tell people like, hey, just want to make sure, like, I made this mistake, and I want everybody to know that, because I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I'm going to continue to do things sometimes that I'm going to learn from. But I always want this to be open. Like, could you imagine if the airline said, hey, like, this is what's going on. We've called it out. We have a new hashtag that we're starting, which is like, your luggage passport. And now we're actually going to include a passport with your luggage tag when we can't get it on time. And we're going to tell you where it went. It's going to have little stamps on it and everything. And right, whoever has the best, passport in the next 60 days, we'll donate $10,000 to a nonprofit of their choice.
Or you get a free ticket. You get a free ticket
right,
anywhere.
In
the last 60 days, whoever had the worst luggage route that was not anywhere near your location, you get a free ticket somewhere. Not just own it, but make fun of yourself.
But what I'm saying though is, and then also say like, but this is a program that we're using to get better at this. We're going to be able to have the data to understand where's it getting lost, how is it getting delayed, what's going on with it, how are we solving for it, so that we can better equip ourselves to not have this happen. So now I own the mistake. I have a little fun with it. I let people know, I'm going to take over the hashtag, and now it's a contest. And now people are like, I wouldn't be so upset if my luggage got lost and it took a little bit longer, because I might get a free ticket or whatever, right? And now it's a thing where you're saying, but I'm doing this because I want to get better. Now, the deliverable is you got to get better. We got to look at it in 90 days, right? You can't lose as many pieces of luggage, in a couple of months. But it's the same thing from a leadership standpoint. Like, I think it's really important that we don't shut it down, that we don't like, so-and-so is always negative, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to have these things, and you're going to have people dynamics, and you're going to have people that approach things differently. But at the end of the day, if you truly made a mistake, or if you truly did something that you need to own as a leader, then you got to just own it. And as you build confidence in leadership, that's where I think you start to put some work behind it, and like a little bit of kind of an apology tour per se, or just something that's just like, hey, I made this mistake, a mistake tour. I made this mistake. I want everybody to know about it. I'm looking to get better, but I want to take this time to share with everyone that, I'm still learning too, and I need your help. Like that completely changes the dynamic when it comes to team and culture.
This is an interesting story, because while, a public company like this, where people have there's no negative potential outcome for calling the company out for misplacing your luggage and saying, hey, I've tracked it. It's in Germany and I'm in Los Angeles. There's really not a negative to doing that. There could be some perceived negative to calling out a leader in your own organization. And so the best case scenario that a leader can hope for is that no one calls them out. But then all that means is that they're having the conversation amongst each other. You're just not aware of it. And so your leadership authority and your ability to lead and people's confidence in you as a leader is being eroded, all while you're saying, I'm good. Everybody thinks I'm good and all is well. At least this airline, it's a gift that they are being called out publicly if they want to take it as such, because instead of people just saying, you know what, they keep losing my luggage, I'm no longer going to fly them, I'm going to take my business elsewhere, and then their business erodes over the course of years, and they go, we have no idea why, people are just not flying us anymore. They don't take it to mean that it's because they keep losing luggage. They're being called out publicly, which they can take in a positive way as saying, you know what, maybe we've known this is an issue for a while. We've not taken steps to mitigate it because we just believe that it's not hurting our business. But now it's going to start hurting our business if we don't take steps to do it. But at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do anyway. We're late to the party. Maybe we should have done it years ago, but we have the opportunity to do it now if we want to, and hope that people come along for the ride. Because I'll tell you something, it's not like they're the only one who's losing luggage. Other airlines are too. Maybe this one is bringing more negative press to themselves by trying to stomp it out. But all the airlines are being called out on this. This isn't just unique to one thing. It's happening everywhere. So be the one that stands out and have it be a differentiator for you that says, hey, you know what? We know this is an industry-wide problem. Maybe we're worse at it than some, but it is definitely not unique to us. But here's what we're doing to take steps to solve it. Put a program in place, come out with it publicly and say it. And now you're the hero as opposed to the one who just kind of tries to blend in with all the other airlines that are all terrible when it comes to, misplacing luggage. I think that's really the key. And when it comes to these kind of large scale events, as well as individual things, when you're a decision maker in an organization, if something is being called out to you that is a problem, the likelihood of the only person aware that it's a problem is the person calling you out is virtually zero. There are a line of people behind them who are just, they don't have the confidence or they worry about calling it out and they're not saying anything, but it is impacting their engagement. It's impacting their trust in you as a leader. And so it can only hurt you to let it go longer.
And I think too, I think back into my career, and of course there's been plenty of times where I've made some silly decisions or you try to implement some silly strategies. And I don't know, I think I've found, especially with teams and when you work with, a collection of teams for a good amount of time, I tend to bring it up. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that I never really thought about it as a strategy of how to build or how to show humility. I just kind of do it in that self-deprecating kind of humor way.
Sure. It's disarming though.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it sets a little bit of the tone to say I don't even take myself that serious. And I make mistakes too. And I'm going to remind you of the mistakes that I made. And everybody can have a laugh at it, right? Because it's not that big of a deal, right? I thought it would be a really great idea to broadcast a meeting virtually for somebody that wasn't in attendance. And then they said, yeah, well, I appreciate you doing that, but somebody stood in front of the camera, and so I looked at the back of their shirt for 15 minutes, and everything was muffled. And then somebody realized it, and then they moved out of the way, and then we kind of had a laugh. And at the time, I was like, well, this is the way to do it. This will make sure that everybody gets to get the content. And then so fast forward into the future, and we're in a meeting, and I'm like, or we could just do a virtual one for that person. They can look at the back of somebody's t-shirt. Just wear a cool t-shirt, right? Wear something that's cool. Right. Or maybe we could take the context of what we're going to talk about and put that on the back of a t-shirt so that when they're standing in front of the camera, you can read it and but it's ongoing and it's fun and it's a silly mistake, but it does land a larger message. And could you imagine if the CEO of that company, the airline, came out to a press conference and was in gym shorts and a t-shirt and was like, hey, I'm really sorry, but lost my luggage on the way here. So, and then everybody laughs and they bring it down and they say, but on a serious note, I wanted to make a point, right? I understand how big of a deal this is. And I understand that it's frustrating when you don't have what you need. And does somebody have the speaking points? Oh, that was in my briefcase too? Okay, never mind. I'll just make it up. Just the idea of saying, I understand it. I'm having a little bit of fun with it, but I realize this is what can cause an issue. We're going to fix this, right? We're going to put forth an effort. We're going to fix this. We're going to put so to your point. Now I stand out. Now I own my mistake. I put it out there in the world. We talk about it. And then you have an ongoing, commercial strategy where, every 30 days or so, he gets another piece of clothing to put on from his luggage. And he's like, we're almost there. I almost have my full suit. Our goal is to be at 10% or less, right? And but just the whole thing you can do with that, that's kind of how I see it the same way in leadership when it comes to owning mistakes and stuff.
Right. I've said for a lot of years now that that one of the important things about being a leader is you have to take your job very seriously and you have to not take yourself seriously. And that is the exact threading the needle of that. Taking yourself not too seriously is showing up in gym shorts. Taking your job seriously is to, while you're standing there in gym shorts, saying, we know this is a problem and here's the 90-day plan to fix it. Because making a joke out of it make people laugh, and it brings down the tone of the room comes down a little bit, but only so that they can listen to what you have to say. If you come out in gym shorts and say, yep, it is what it is, what are you going to do, right? Like, bye, have a good day. That doesn't work either, right? It brings the tone of the room down for a moment. They start listening to you, and then you lose them because they're expecting you to take your job seriously. If you take yourself too seriously, that's when you come out and you start to say, the FAA bans these tracking devices. You will no longer track your luggage, in us. That's taking yourself too seriously. There is that line, and you have to be able to do it. And doing it wrong is what will lead to a problem. But doing it right, it disarms the story. It takes away the ability for it to be used against you for the moment, and gives you the grace and the leeway that you need to actually fix the problem if you follow through and fix it in a timeline that is acceptable to the people who are impacted by it.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to this episode's 1 minute hack. But first, a few words from our sponsors.
The 1 minute hack.
All right, for this episode's 1 minute hack, here's what I want you to do. Get out your pen and paper, and I want you to write down the last mistake that you made. It could be something that people know about, or it could be something that no one knows about, but write it down and be clear about the details about it, what happened and why you believe it happened. Because the next time that you sit down with any of your people, it could be your entire team of direct reports, or it could be a one-on-one. I want you to start the conversation with calling out that mistake on yourself and why it happened. Talk through it with the person, and that could be the entire conversation with them. That could be just your connection with them for that moment, is talking about that mistake, or it could be the start of a conversation about their performance and what's going on in their career. But by starting out with that as a mistake that you made, you set the tone as a leader saying, when I make a mistake, I'm going to own it. And you can do it in a comedic way. You can do it in a way that kind of makes light of it a little bit, but then it needs to come back around to what you did to actually solve that mistake, or what you're doing to solve it if it's still something that is in the works. Coming off as a manager who is able to admit mistakes, to not take themselves too seriously, but who also takes the solution to their problems very seriously, is one that will make your people feel more likely that they can come to you when they want to challenge you on something, which is always good because you want to know when they don't agree with you on something. And it will open the dialogue between you and that person, kind of lower yourself a little bit to a level as a leader who knows they make mistakes, because everybody does, and it will strengthen the bond you have with that employee, because it doesn't let you come off as someone who is trying to kind of maintain this facade as a person who doesn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great 1 minute hack. And again, just the transparency element and the dialogue that we have with our people, and reminding them that as leaders we have to grow and learn and develop as well. And that we welcome them on that journey, and that we are asking for the same grace that that they would ask of us as their leaders. So I think that it's such an important part of leadership, and it creates a level of dialogue and trust that allows you to move quickly through things when people make mistakes, whether you or somebody that you work with or somebody that works for you as a leader, whatever that might be. When people know they can have the conversation and feel free to admit when they mess something up, and that allows them to also ask for help when they need it. So there's so many layers to that I think it's a great 1 minute hack.
Right. I interviewed somebody on the podcast probably a year and a half ago now, Peter Kozadoy, and he did a TEDx talk. One of the things he says is that in this day and age, when there's a cell phone camera in every pocket, and there is whistleblowers in every organization, it makes zero sense whatsoever to be anything besides honest and open and transparent about anything that you do, because it's not a matter of if something comes to light, it's a matter of when. And so you bringing it to light yourself will always be a win if you're trying to lead a team of people or lead an entire organization.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you all next time.